Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Florida Prepaid presentation as part of our virtual Prego Expo. We are excited to be here virtually, and then we will also be on site on Sunday in Orlando at our booth, so you can come find us there if you are also attending in person and virtual. My name is Shannon Colavecchio, and I am the spokesperson for Florida Prepaid. And this is actually great timing for this event because this is our open enrollment window, and that is the one time every year when you can actually lock in your Florida prepaid plan and start saving for college and lock in the prices that are happening this round. I will go ahead and just explain an overview of what Florida Prepaid is and how the plans work, and then I'll be monitoring the chat for any questions that you have. So first of all, the Florida Prepaid program is the largest and the longest running prepaid program in the nation. So I like to remind Florida families that this is really sort of a hidden gem of living in Florida, in that you only have the option to be part of this program if you are a Florida resident. And so it really is a benefit. There's only about 5 other states that are currently offering these types of plans. So Florida Prepaid is a 529 plan. We have 2 options. We have the 529 prepaid plan, and we have the 529 savings plan. The 529 prepaid plan is what I'll focus on today because that is the open enrollment window that we're in. And the way that a prepaid plan works is it allows you to lock in today tuition for tomorrow. Okay, so for example, our pricing this open enrollment window starts at $45 a month for a 1-year university plan. When you lock in that price of $45 a month, our guarantee is that when it's time for your child to go to college in 18, 16 years, depending on how old your child is, then you basically are guaranteed that when it's time for them to go to college, we will cover 1 year of a university, 30 credit hours. Now, it doesn't matter to you because you have a plan if tuition has skyrocketed between now and then, because our guarantee and the guarantee of the state of Florida is that we will cover that tuition that is part of your contract, right? And so really it gives you the peace of mind of not having to worry about how much tuition goes up, what happens to the tuition market, have you saved enough? The guarantee is that you know you're saving enough because you purchased this plan. And that's what it is. You have to be a Florida resident to, the child has to be a Florida resident for you to purchase a prepaid plan. And the same goes for a 529 savings plan. So again, this is a benefit that is exclusive to Floridians. And the difference I will say too, I hear a lot of times people say, what's the difference between just having savings in a bank account versus this? Well, if you have savings in a bank account, there's really no way for you to guarantee that you're actually saving enough, right? Because you could be saving a certain amount each month, but over the next 15 to 18 years, depending on the age of your child, tuition really, really skyrockets, right? The other thing is that savings in a bank account is not a tax-free investment, and a Florida prepaid plan is tax-free. And then the other issue too is that with a Florida prepaid plan, you can get a full refund of everything that you put in. If, for example, you don't use the plan, a child doesn't use it, maybe they get scholarships, maybe they don't go to college at all, maybe something happens and you just change your mind. So you can always get a full refund of everything that you've put in. And if the child were, for example, to get a scholarship, then we would just give you the difference of whatever prepaid money that they don't actually use. We do have a lot of families that have both. They have a prepaid plan to cover tuition, and then they have a 529 savings plan to cover all of the other college expenses like housing, books, technology. If anything were to ever happen to the child where they cannot go to college, you can get a full refund of everything that you put in. I'll also, go over here. We have 5 plans and a dormitory plan. So we have a 1-year university plan. We have a 2-year college plan, which would essentially cover an AA degree. We have a 2+2 plan, and that is 2 years at a state college, and then they transfer to a university. We have a 4-year college because we have all of our state colleges offer degrees in high demand fields, and so that's a very popular plan. And then we have our 4-year university plan, which is your more traditional go to university. So the plan prices start at $45 a month, and then they go up depending on, all the way up to about $181 a month for a newborn for a 4-year university plan. The 1-year university plan is pretty cool because multiple family members can all contribute toward the same child. So they can each stack a year of university toward the same child. So instead of one family member paying 181 a month, maybe grandma over here pays 45 a month, another grandma pays $45 a month, and then the parents pay for maybe two one-year university plans. So there's ways for families to share in the cost of education, which is great. And we hear a lot from families. The program, again, has been around 30 plus years. So we're at the point, I just saw Victoria comment that she went to college with prepaid, and now she's here, presumably expecting or maybe just had a baby and, is thinking about that for her own child. And so what's really, really amazing is to see the legacy of this program, because we have so many people now that have gone through college or university with a prepaid plan. Now they're starting their own families. And of course, they want to do a prepaid plan because they know that it helped to get them through college. And, our message to families is that you don't have to save for every penny of what their college education will cost. There's been a recent survey from Sally Mae that actually found families expect to pay for about 40% of a child's college education. Now, that can be college, university, technical school, trade school, post-secondary, right? Our prepaid plans can apply to any of those scenarios. And so I encourage you to remember that as you start to look at, the price tag of higher education, because you don't have to cover everything. But every dollar that you do save is a dollar that they don't have to borrow. And it's the borrowing and the loan debt that really, really, can saddle somebody down when they're trying to graduate from college and start a life, right? They want to buy a house or start a family or buy a car. And if they have all of this loan debt, it's very difficult to do that. And the other thing is that if they have a lot of loan debt, it might even color the choice of their first job. Like maybe they take a job just because they need to pay the bills, but they don't love it, right? And so we really want children, when they graduate from college, to really have the freedom and the choices to make decisions based on what's best for them, and not just based on the student loan debt that they're facing down. Prepaid plan prices are based on a child's age. And so it is always going to be more affordable if you start a prepaid plan earlier in a child's life. 0 to 4 is the most affordable age range. And that's because between 0 to 4 means that you have 14 to 18 years, right, to actually break out and break down the total cost. So your monthly payments will be lower, just like the difference between a 5-year car loan versus a 3 or 2-year car loan. So it's going to be less expensive the earlier that you start, longer runway to save. Now, can you start saving when they're 9 or 10? Absolutely, but it will cost you more per month. You can go to myfloridaprepaid.com, and I will type that here. And if you go to that and you click on the prepaid plan pricing, you'll see that there is a pricing calculator that allows you to enter the birth date of a child, and then it will print out or spit out a chart, and it shows you for each of our plans, based on the child's age, exactly what your monthly payments would be. You can also do it over a 5-year installment. That's an option too. And then there's also always the lump sum option. Most people do monthly or 5-year. And so I encourage families to go to that chart and really base your decision on what you're going to do on what you can afford. So it may be that right now you can't afford the 4-year university, but you could afford the 2-year college. Well, do the 2-year college maybe, right? Because that way you're at least covering their AA degree and they're not having to borrow for that money. Olga asked, can you transfer to another sibling? You absolutely can. Okay. We see this happen a lot. Maybe sibling A was the firstborn, parents bought a prepaid plan. They're going to UF, I'm going to use an example, or UCF, and they have 100% Bright Futures. Wow. Okay. So Bright Futures is covering their tuition. Guess what? The prepaid plan isn't needed to cover tuition. So the family has all of this prepaid plan value and they can transfer that to another child. If there's not another child in that scenario, the family also can, we see this happen with Bright Futures a lot. The child goes, and so anything that isn't needed each semester from Florida Prepaid, the family gets a refund check of the prepaid money that they didn't need to use. And so families will use that for housing, books, and all the other college expenses. So, and that's true of really any scholarships that they got, right, or get, because we will work within the parameters of that, and any of the prepaid money they don't need, you would get back. I'm looking at the chat here. Oh, yeah. So Marnie, this is another scenario we see a lot. So children who are super smart and motivated, right? So her daughter is dual enrolling in high school. And so she's going to graduate high school and already have college credits, right? So smart. In fact, I've seen some students graduate high school and they already have their AA degree almost covered, right? So that's 60 credit hours that they don't need. Well, guess what? If you had a 4-year university plan, you would get refunded the credit hours that you didn't use, right? So lots of different ways and scenarios to use this. The open enrollment window is now through April 30th. And if you use code, I'm typing this in, family 2021, that will actually save you $25 on enrollment. You have to have the child has to be born. So they don't need a social security number actually. So if you have the baby on April 29th and you want to set that plan up on April 30th, you can do that and then just submit the social security number later. But if they are born and they have they're here out of the womb and they're in the hospital, you can totally buy a plan. If they're not born yet, you'd have to wait till the next window to open that. The other thing is that these plans, obviously they're called Florida prepaid plans, but they can be used at institutions outside Florida. They can be used at private colleges in Florida or out. So under that scenario, all we would do is we would apply the value of the plan that you had purchased to the institution that they end up attending. So I'll use the example of you have a 4-year university plan, you start saving now when they're a baby, fast forward 18 years, instead of going to UCF or UF or FSU or wherever, they decide to go to Georgia State University, okay? We would send to Georgia State what we would have sent to UCF or UF or any of those in-state universities. What happens though is that because they're not a Florida or Georgia resident, it's probably going to be a higher tuition to go to that school out of state. And so you're probably going to have a gap between what your prepaid plan covers and what Georgia State charges. But the point is that you never lose the value of your prepaid plan. That remains intact. The prepaid plan is not an interest-bearing investment plan. So you simply are, the value of it is that you're locking in the tuition and you are paying it over time in a way that is affordable, meets your budget. Once you set your monthly payments, they'll never go up. The only scenario, we've seen this happen twice, is that the payments might go down, or you could pay off early or even get a refund if we find that tuition is staying a lot lower than what was originally anticipated, which we've seen that in recent years in Florida, of tuition staying totally steady and level. And so we were able, for example, last year to actually refund families and lower payments for many families. So that was a big deal. But the payments will never go up. The only scenario is that it would actually go down. The next window of open enrollment would be February 1 through April 30th. And Olga, you would still qualify for the newborn pricing under that scenario. The other thing that you can do is that once a child is born, as soon as they're born, you can do a pre-application of Florida Prepaid. And so it essentially gets you in the hopper. So as soon as the open enrollment window starts the following year, you are enrolled. So you can always do that. The 529 savings plans also are available year round. So those are not contingent on an actual window of time. You can open those at any time. They are an investment-based plan. So that means you can put in what you want, when you want, invest what you can, when you can. You choose an investment strategy, right? So there is always going to be some inherent risk in that. But what most families end up doing is they just choose an age-based investment plan. The age-based investment plans essentially are more conservative as they get closer to high school graduation, right? And actually needing the college money. And they're a little bit more aggressive now, early on, to try to grow that money, right? And so many families do this because maybe they have a budget that's a little more unpredictable. And so they're like, yeah, I could do $50 this month, but I don't know if I could do it next month. And that's okay, right? And so our message is like, do what you can, right? And so a 529 savings plan can be opened at any time. It can be used, again, for tuition, housing, books, all those things. And if you were to start a prepaid plan or a 529 savings plan at $25 a month, over 18 years, if you invest that consistently, $25 a month, can grow to $8,000, okay? So, not too bad for something that is, not a huge investment. So that is something to think about. If you do a 4-year plan and they're in the community college for 1 year, can the other 3 be transferred? Yes, so you can always, if they end up enrolling in a different type of institution, we will transfer that plan to where they attend. Again, if they had a college-based plan, but they attend university, you're probably going to have a gap in what is actually covered. And so you may have to pay the extra, or potentially they got a scholarship or something. But yes, you can always transfer that to wherever they end up attending. Yep. I'm trying to think what else we hear. Oh, so you have 10 years from the time that a child graduates high school to actually use the plan. So if they go to military, or maybe they just take a year off, we're seeing a lot of children take a gap year this year, especially because of COVID, because they don't, if they attend college, they kind of want the true college experience, and they don't want to be like taking classes, in mom's living room. And so we're seeing a lot of students do that. And I think that we'll probably see it into the next year. And so if that happens, again, they have 10 years, so it's plenty of time to use it. If you have value left in your prepaid plan, again, you could always take that and apply it toward graduate school if a student has that. Again, I said it works with Bright Futures. I'm trying to think of the other scenarios. I think I covered most of the, we get a lot of myths that we try to bust about, oh, I can only use it in Florida, or, I have to know what my child's doing. The thing about a prepaid plan is that they're actually really built for flexibility. And so when I've ever talked to families and they say that they're not saving, it is often because they say, well, I don't know what my child's going to want to do, so how can I start saving? Well, the purpose of a prepaid plan is to just start saving early, and you don't have to know what they're going to do, because they really are so flexible and can be applied to a number of different scenarios, and it works out in the end. Alexander asks, can you use this for primary school? So interestingly, a prepaid plan can only be used for post-secondary, okay? But so post-secondary meaning college, university, or vocational or trade school. A 529 savings plan, due to a recent change in federal law that came, I think it was 2 years ago, can actually be used for private K through 12 tuition. So if you have a 529 savings plan and you decide you want to use it for that, it can actually be used toward that. April's asking what would happen if the person paying for the plan passes away. So essentially, whatever was paid into the plan up to that point would be in the plan. If they're no longer able to pay the monthly payments, the beneficiary could get that full refund, if that makes sense. The refund of what had been paid to date. So yeah, we're never going to keep the money if it's not needed for college, and we're not going to keep it if a person asks for a refund. It's guaranteed by the state of Florida, so you can always get what you paid in back, whether it's the full amount paid in or it's part of it, and had to halt for whatever reason that happened to a personal situation in a family. Yeah. Trying to think what else. Our website is great, myfloridaprepaid.com. We have lots and lots of different, information, like a chart on the homepage. If you scroll down, that shows, actually, I can screen share. Why don't I do that? We have a chart that shows exactly the differences between prepaid plans and 529 savings plans, as well as, okay, I'm going to try and share my screen. Let's see. It's going to let me do it, I think. This is great. Okay. Will it let me do it? I'm going to try, guys. Here we go. Oh, I think it will. Okay. I'm sharing. Can you all see the Florida prepaid screen? Can you all see that? Let me know if you see it. I think you see it. Okay, perfect. All right. So this is the homepage, myfloridaprepaid.com. So if you go down here, this is a great summary of the difference between a prepaid plan and a savings plan. So prepaid plan benefits, guaranteed by the state of Florida, available newborn through 11th grade, tax-free growth. You do have to be a Florida resident. You can use the plan nationwide. Family members and friends can gift into this. So, maybe the grandparents are like wanting to buy yet another set of Legos or some remote control car, and you're like, we have 8 of those. Can you please just contribute what you would have spent into the plan? Family members can do that. It's a great way to give a gift. And like some of these questions we've gotten, I'm going to stress this. You can transfer or cancel at any time. And if you're canceling, you would get a refund of everything you had paid in to date. You can also use it with scholarships. The only thing that a savings plan cannot do, so savings plan can also be used for tuition, right? but a savings plan can be used for other college costs, such as housing, books, technology. A savings plan is not guaranteed by the state of Florida only because you're choosing the investment plan, and we can't guarantee how much you're going to be putting in every month, which stock options you're choosing, right? So there's always there's the inherent risk of that. And then there's no age requirement for a 529 savings plan. And you can actually open a 529 savings plan before the child is born. So that is also an option. And let's see. So this just shows you how they work. And then one more thing before I go back to the chat. If you go to prepaid plans and then plans and pricing, I will go ahead and put in a fake date of, let's say the baby was just born. Oh my goodness, born yesterday. Wow. 21, newborn. And so here are the rates, right? So 2-year college, $54 a month. I don't know about you, but that is what happens every time I walk into Target. 4-year college plan, about $116, 2 + 2, $145 almost, and then 1-year university, and then here's the 4-year university. So, and this shows you what it covers, right? Different hours. If you were to do, let's see. Yep, this is trying to see if it will show. Oh yeah, and here's if you were to add a dormitory plan, you could add that on for, we don't have dorm plans for the college plans, but for the university plans we do, and so that would be $49 a month should you choose to add that on. And so this is a great way to just show you how, and again, so I encourage people, look at this, look at your budget and say, okay, maybe this is too much right now, but we could swing this or we could swing this, or let's at least just start saving something and start with the 1-year university plan. Because the thing about the 1 year is that in a few years, if your budget situation changes, you could always add on another year, right? So I'm going to go to back to these questions. The Google non-degree education, Jen, you would not, it has to be an accredited qualified institution. So I'm doubting that the Google one would be for that. You have to be a degree bearing university, college, or trade school. Victoria, if you move out of state, you can continue to contribute as you have set out to do and contracted in to do for the prepaid plan. And there's actually one cool benefit that happens when a family moves out of state that has a prepaid plan in Florida. When it's time for the child to go to college, because they have a prepaid plan in Florida, they could decide to come back here and go to, I'm going to actually stop sharing this. They could come back here and go to college, right? And because they're here and they have a prepaid plan, they would actually get in-state resident status, even though they no longer live here, simply by having a prepaid plan. So that's amazing. So it means you're not going to have a gap between, if they go to a 4-year university and you have a 4-year plan, there won't be a gap because they are going to be qualifying as a state resident. And then others can contribute. They could go online. There's like a certificate option and they just contribute in. It's actually pretty easy to do online. And these are tax deductible savings. So yes, this is a tax-free option as opposed to, for example, a bank account, which is a savings account, which is not a tax-free investment. There is you're going to get a little bit of a better deal if you pay it in a lump sum or over 5 years. So if you can do it, but most people really do a monthly benefit or a monthly plan rather. And Melissa, the same code will, let me see, for those due after April 30th. What we will probably end up doing is setting up, we may set up a new code, but I can make sure that we are updated on that. I would just plan to use that code after the baby's born when you start your plan. And what I can do is we can ask Florida Prepaid on their end to extend the expiration date of that code. That would actually be a good idea for all of you who are like listening and maybe they're due in May, but you want to get your plan started. So we want to give you that benefit for sure. Any other questions? These are great questions, everybody. This is really good. And congratulations for being here. I mean, honestly, like there is so much for you all to be worried about and thinking about and planning for in having a baby or having a newborn, and maybe you've got other children. And so part of what we really love to do at Florida Prepaid is to just make it simple. Because the thing is that once you set up this plan, you can do it 15 minutes online. It's very, very simple and turnkey. And once you set it up, it's really set it and forget it. You don't have to watch the stock market for a prepaid plan. You don't have to wonder if you're saving enough. You just set it up, you budget for it every month, and you just know that it's going to be, and you can set up like an automatic, deduction from a bank account, and you just know that it's going to be taken care of. And that is so important, especially when the babies and the kids are young, because I have two boys that are 7 and 11. And, there's just so much going on. And so it's just a lot to keep track of. And babies, even more so, right? So it's a really good way to just know that you're doing something and know that you're doing I think as parents, we wonder am I doing the right thing? Did I mess that up? Oh, I screwed that up today. I shouldn't have done that. And it's I talked to a family recently and they have a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old. And the dad was saying that, he's like, when we first started these saving, we didn't really have a lot of money. And so it was kind of a tight thing to do and it was uncomfortable at first. They're in a better place now financially, but they were like, it wasn't easy at first. But he said, I am so happy that I did it because we were new parents. We did not have any idea what we were doing. And it felt like this one thing we knew we were doing right. We question ourselves so much every day. And he just said, I'm so glad I did it because I knew that no matter what, I had at least done this, right? And that I had at least done the college savings thing right and in doing that for my kids. So that's another thing. And I think too, if some of you are watching and you're like, okay, well, I do know that I need to save for college, but it's so far away. Well, it is far away, except here's the thing. It's true what they say that the days are long and the years are short. Any parent I've ever talked to that has a 5-year-old and up is like, how are they already this age? What happened to the last, 5 years? And can you please make time slow down? That is just so true of parenting and children. And the thing about college savings that you have to remember is that you really have to take the long view, right? The earlier you save, the less stressful it is because what you have to save each month is less than if you were to wait until they're say 10 or 12. And now you've only got 6 or 8 years to save. And you're like, oh my goodness, we really have to, how are we going to make this work? Or maybe you wait till they're in high school. And then you're really looking at a huge price tag that you're just not ready for, right? And so by doing this now, you're doing something that can really give you that peace of mind and save a lot of stress later. And again, every dollar that you save for them is a dollar that they don't have to borrow. So, I know. Yeah, I adopted my boys in November of 2019, and I started fostering them in May of 2019. And I'm just even now I'm like, how has all this time passed? And they're already so much more grown up than when they were, when I first met them. So it's kind of crazy. Any other questions? I would love to know how many of you had prepaid plans as a kid, or even how many of you are still paying off college loans. That's another thing. We get a lot of parents who, gosh, the first thing they want to do when they have a child is set up a prepaid plan because they had student loans and they hated what it felt like to have to pay those off, over so much time. And they really just, wanted to do something for their child that was different. And the other thing I started to say is that, and this is stream of consciousness, but it's hard because I can't see you guys and the chat is kind of delayed. But anyway, we'll make it work. When you start saving for college early for a child, listen, they don't miss anything, right? They see everything. So they know that you're saving for their college. And the thing that does that's intangible and yet so powerful is that it sends them a message that you expect them to go to college, that you believe in them, and that you support them along the way. And that is so powerful to a child. There's research that shows that a child with college savings, even if it is just a small amount of what they actually need, that child that has college savings versus the one that doesn't, the child with college savings is 2.5 times more likely to enroll in college and graduate. Okay. That is the power of college savings, is the message and the expectation that it gives to a child. A child knows that is happening. And so, that's a really big deal. That's probably one of the best gifts that we could give to a child is just them knowing that we expect them to go, that we expect them to do their best, and that we're also supporting them in doing that. Allie, yes, awesome. I'm sorry you're still paying them off, and I hope that you get relief on that soon. Oh, Olga. Yeah. So Olga, same. I actually did not have prepaid as a kid. My grandparents had to raise me sort of emergency starting when I was 7. And so they'd already raised 6 kids. They had not thought about prepaid plans or any of this, but I did have Bright Futures. And so that was super helpful. But we see a lot of kids that do have prepaid plans and they have Bright Futures. And so that really gives them a huge leg up because then they really don't have, they can cover all the expenses of college in many cases. Yeah, so Stacy came in. If you sign up for a 4-year plan and the child goes on a different route, can you use, so it can be used for any other college or education or post-secondary scenario, Stacy. So like if they did a 4-year, but then they're like, I just want to go to technical school, okay? Which by the way, a lot of students are doing that because these technical trade schools are training for careers that are in high demand and they pay really well. And so if you had a 4-year university plan, but they went to like a technical school, you're going to end up getting a refund of the value of the plan that's left over because it's not going to cost as much to go to the technical school. Yep. If they don't go to college at all, Stacy, you could just get a refund of the plan, or you could also transfer it to another child if you had another child that you wanted to do that for. Mm-hmm. Yep. Lots of options. Let's see. Anything else here? I'm just going to hang out. Just going to hang out. I hope you all are enjoying this. And then we'll be on site Sunday in the booth. So, and we'll have really good swag. If you are coming, Florida Prepaid always has really good swag. I'm trying to think, we have cute toddler t-shirts. We have piggy banks this year. These really great beach totes. So lots of good stuff. So get there early because the swag is like, y'all are assertive about it. So you got to get there early because the swag goes pretty fast because it's so popular. Awesome. Amanda's going to be there. So great. So good. Yeah. And we love the Prego Expo. They're always awesome. They're such a great host. The events are so fun. Victoria's going to be there. That's so good. Yay. It's fantastic. Yeah. And there's so many great different exhibitors at the Prego Expo. So you'll have fun. So Alexander, this isn't, so Florida prepaid plans are not interest plans. So you just get the money that you put in. Yep. 529 savings plans are interest, investment type plans. Mm-hmm. Good question. We also had a question that somebody recently gave me. What if we are paying on say that we're paying on a 2-year college, but we want to up it to a 4-year college. Can we do that if our budget changes? You can do that. What you can't do is go from like a 4-year university down to like a 2-year college. But what you would have to do, we still make it work, but we do it this way. You would get a refund of whatever you'd paid into the 4-year university, and we would put that to a new, say, 2-year college. And then based on what you already had in the account and what it was going to actually be, we would set up a new monthly payment plan. Olga, yeah, so families do this. They do this a lot. They'll take their prepaid plan if it isn't used or they don't need all of it because of Bright Futures, and they immediately put that into a 529 savings plan, and then they let that grow over time because, even over 4 years, if a child had a 529 savings plan in college and they're putting in there and it's growing, they could use that for graduate school, right? So lots of different scenarios there. So that's a good question. We see people do that fairly frequently because it's a good idea to do that. Mm-hmm. And yes, Alexander, I believe you just get taxed on the growth if you pull that out, but you have to double check that with like a financial planner. I'm going to confirm to you that is not my expertise. And I do not want to answer that incorrectly. We also have, if you go to the website, we have a customer service line too, and they can also help with that, but I don't want to speak out of turn on that. So just double check me on that. This is great. You guys your questions are great. You already are kind of pretty savvy parents, I can tell, or parents to be. So congratulations on that. These are great. We also, I'll say we did a recent survey post, COVID. I mean, obviously we're still living in it, but post of like the true shutdown. And, we wanted to gauge how has the pandemic impacted parents' attitudes, families' attitudes for saving for college. And 95% of Floridians that we surveyed across the state said that they actually believe college is just as important, if not more important, in light of the pandemic. And we saw so many people, 50,000 plans were sold last year. And our open enrollment window was during the pandemic, and we actually extended the open enrollment because of that by 1 month. And, I think part of that is just that, our world feels very uncertain right now, right? Let's be honest, right? It's like you wake up and you're like, well, what's going to happen today? And especially, I think it's easing a little bit, but it's certainly in the past year, it has felt like that very acutely. And I think that, the thing about a prepaid plan is that it's certain. Your monthly payments are certain. What it covers is certain. The state of Florida guarantees it. There's nothing unknown or uncertain about a prepaid plan. And so I do think for families, that is something that they can at least count on. And we look for the things that we can count on when everything else seems uncertain. And so I do believe that that is part of what it is. And I think also, we saw a lot of people that were like, oh, well, my job is secure. And then the pandemic came and it was like, no, your job is not secure. And so it's kind of a wake up moment too, that they want to make sure that their children, because maybe they didn't have a college education or they only had a AA degree or something, and they wish they had, more. And so obviously everyone has a different scenario, but I think we saw a lot of parents just wanting to make sure their children have every possible opportunity and every door that can be opened so that no matter what life throws at them, they have choices, right? And that they have, just choices. That's probably the best word for it. Christina asks, is this a discount? Is there a discount for annual or lump sum? So the annual and lump sum are going to be a little bit more paid out overall than the monthly payments. So there is a little bit of an advantage for that. Yes. And when you look on, let me look on the pricing page. Yeah, if you look at, the chart, let me see. It's interesting. This chart used to show monthly. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Okay, 5-year. Oh, let me share my screen again and show you guys this. Okay. I'm like, I knew that this chart showed the difference. So let me show it real quick. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. So this is the chart based on a newborn. Okay. So here's the monthly payments, and it would be a total of 223 payments based on the fact that the baby was just born. Okay. For a 5-year, if it's in 55 payments, and so basically your estimated payout, right, is here. The 5-year, this is what it becomes per month for a 5-year. So when you pay it out over 5 years, it starts to look more like a car payment, right? Especially for like 4-year, really in this range here, 4-year 2 + 2. If you do the lump sum, this is what your cost is. Okay. And the thing is, for example, if you were to do a lump sum for your Florida University, it's $28,000 if you lock it in this year. And we're estimating that the actual cost of tuition by the time they have to actually go is $66,500. Okay. So imagine, being able to pay this out again, even if it's in monthly payments. If they're in a junior in college in 2038, right? And you're looking at this price tag and you haven't saved anything, that is, talk about stressful, right? So the benefit of doing this monthly or lump sum or over 5 years is that you are, not having to guess at what tuition will be, and that you actually have what you need by the time it gets there. So. And again, this is such a benefit of being a Floridian. It's like only 5 other states have these plans still, and we are the largest and the longest running, and so we really are a national model for how these are done. And that's a testament to how it was founded, how it was set up. We have an amazing, board and actuaries who are just absolutely fantastic at all of this. Yes, Allie, very, very nerve-wracking. Oh, Christina has twins. So Christina, you know, I'm going to share this again because here's an example of, so you've got twins, right? And you're thinking, oh my gosh. So maybe you've got twins. Let me share this again. You know, so what if you have twins and you're looking at this and you're like, well, that's $360 a month. Can't do that. But okay, wait, we could do this, right? Or we could do, you know, basically a 2-year college for each of them. So it's about $106 or $7 a month for both of them that at least covers the first 2 years, which means that when it's time for them to go, they're not having to take out a loan for those first 2 years, right? So it's at least something. And we always tell parents, it's like, listen, we as parents, we wish we could do it all, right? We do. We absolutely do. But we can't do it all all the time. And so, you know, something is better than nothing. So it's just, it's good to keep in mind. Christina, I would have to double check the other states. I think Virginia is one, California, maybe. I have to double check that, but I know there's like 5 or 6 and they're not as big as ours. We have actually sent over 500,000 students to college since, 30 plus years ago, which is so cool. And then over 1 million plans have been purchased over the history of the program. It's really amazing. The difference between the 4-year college is that the 4-year college would cover tuition at one of the state colleges. We have 28 state colleges in Florida. And the 4-year university would cover 4 years at one of the 12 universities in Florida. Brianna, yes, if you have scholarships that cover the first 2 years and then you have a 2-year plan, you would get back a refund of whatever you got and you could apply it to the rest of their college education. Absolutely. Yeah. You have the freedom to do that. You have the freedom to do that. Yep. And remember, I'm going to type this code again. Family, 2021 to save $25 on enrollment. Okay. And when you're enrolling online, you just would enter that code at the checkout. It'll prompt you if you have a promo code. All right, I'm going to do last call for questions. Our window is closing. This has been awesome. You guys have great questions. I will also give you my email. Okay. This is one of my work emails. Okay, so you can email me there with any questions that we didn't get to here, or if you have a specific scenario, I am happy to answer those. Come to our booth on Sunday. Frankie, one of our other team members, will be there. She's amazing. And the promo code, Christina, is good through open enrollment, which ends April 30th. Yep. If your baby is going to be born after that, we will set up the code that it will keep working after that. But if you already have a child or you're going to be due before that, you can go ahead and do that. And Christina, I don't know if the twins are born yet, but good luck. My friend has twins. They're already almost 4. I cannot believe it. And Courtney is a rock star, and you, I'm sure, are a rock star as well, because that is no joke. No joke. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your expo and your experience, and have a happy weekend. We'll see y'all on Sunday. Bye.